What's up, guys? It's another edition of our GAGS Goals Updates. This will, I guess, will be our second video in our Road to 198 series. As of right now, if you've been kind of following along, or if you just know me personally, I'm doing things a little bit different, and I'm having a very keto Christmas. And basically all that means is just kind of a little play on words, but we're doing a little bit of challenge with a couple of members, and I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to kind of go against the grain a little bit. Everyone always focuses on waiting until January 1st to have this New Year's resolution, and I'll start Monday, or I'll start 2019, I'll start next year. I'm going to wait till after the holidays, and I wanted to actually lose weight going into the holidays. So one of the reasons I wanted to do that was put myself in a little bit of more aggressive calorie deficit and aggressive diet. So where I may not be like in ketosis or anything like that from a clinical sense, and I will be having a fairly a good amount. My protein will be pretty constant. So I'm trying to get about 250 grams of protein a day, which is actually even more than my body weight, but at a minimum 220, at a maximum of around 250, and then just eliminating the majority of my carbs. And I'm making some, but I'm basically eliminating all grains for the next 4 weeks or so. So basically through Thanksgiving, through Christmas Eve, I'll be doing this kind of low carb, ketogenic type diet. Internet, don't roast me. I understand that, it's not 80% fat, but you get the idea. It's a low carb kind of diet. I haven't really done a low carb diet in a long time. For a while, when I was getting coached by Mr. Jesse Burdick out of Combat Sports Academy, we did a carb night diet, and basically had 0 carbs for 6 days out of the week, and then did a little fasting. Then I'd have like a kind of a refeed, kind of cheat meal with some carbohydrate in it. But this time I'm going to just go like kind of full force with just keeping it low carb. The only difference is I want to, talking with Stan Efforting and learning from him and stuff, I don't want to keep my micronutrients high. So the vegetable content will probably be a little bit higher than maybe it should be, again, for a keto diet. And I'm going to have a little bit of fruit as well. So basically what I've been doing is I've been having 2 oranges and some cranberries and some carrots and making that in a smoothie, and that's been kind of my breakfast. And that'll be my breakfast for the next 4 weeks. So I want to so that's really the only kind of carbs I'm really getting. Everything else is kind of trace carbs. I'm also having Brussels sprouts and spinach, and again, mainly for micronutrients. And I just enjoy Brussels sprouts and spinach. Is probably the more important one with the potassium, magnesium, etc. I'm also having some nuts. I'm usually having about 1 to 2 servings of almonds a day. So there's some trace carbs in that as well, but mostly getting that from good fat. And the majority of what I'm going to be eating will be 93% lean ground beef. One of my meals, I have 2 eggs as well to get some micronutrients as well, some choline, some other things, healthy fats, and some cheese sticks, just more for calcium and just kind of switch things up a little bit. I'll have a protein shake as well, and I'll probably add some avocado as well. I just bought some avocado, some pre-portioned avocado, like kind of 100 calorie packs or so. So I'll kind of put that on the meat as well, just kind of switch things up, making sure my sodium is a little higher because carbohydrates will hydrate you, so it's going to be a little bit depleted. So I'm going to make sure that the salt and the sodium is also up a little bit. Make sure my water is good. At the time of this taping today, I was 233. So I haven't really lost or kind of gained any weight. This is kind of, at the end of my last training cycle, going into the Road to 220 series and into my meet at Combat Sports Academy at Rayback, I guess technically Slingshot Record Breakers, sorry Mark, Slingshot Record Breakers. So I was kind of sitting around 235 for the end of the training cycle. So I didn't really gain or lose any kind of substantial amount of weight yet. I will check my body fat again soon with the in-body, and I'll probably do like another DEXA scan maybe sometime in January, just to kind of see how that's going. My energy levels are getting better. The first couple of days was a little bit of a struggle, just kind of adjusting because I've been kind of more of a vertical-ish type diet and having more meat and rice pre and post workout at the very least. And after the meet, my last meet, I was having a little bit more carbohydrate just to kind of give myself a little bit of a diet break and bump my calories up a little bit. As far as training goes, First off, you guys saw my meet recap and things like that. I did kind of bang on my shoulder a little bit, so I did see Dr. Jim Albury for that. Great physical therapist out of Long Island, New York. So if you guys are in the area, you should definitely go see him. So he gave me some kind of corrective exercise drills, warm-ups, and kind of whatever you want to call it, just kind of more rehabilitative type stuff to kind of work on my scapular strength, scapular stability, just getting my shoulder blades moving a little bit, working on my loose, my traps were a little overactive, my scapular retractor is probably a little weak, not moving as well, so kind of working on the kinks out there. The tissue quality in my traps and kind of around the shoulder a little gunky, so using these terms loosely because again that's not my area of expertise, but just going off his recommendations. Also went into New York City recently, met up with another trainer, Ashley Cast, at a Sophisticated Strength. She doesn't have like a ton of like YouTube followers, but she's got some great stuff. If you guys are interested in kind of getting involved in running and different things, I was kind of interested in kind of improving my conditioning a little bit over the next couple of weeks and kind of getting back into maybe doing some sprinting and more athletic type stuff, doing more general training until I get ready for my next meet prep. So did a little functional movement screen with her, and we'll showcase some of the exercises and I'll kind of go through. Some of the movement screens I did, had some asymmetry side to side, and I kind of banged up my left leg on my 804 squat attempt. One of the knee wraps kind of got messed up. Anyways, it wasn't really a surprise, but on my hurdle step assessment and my active straight leg raise assessment, there was and my split squat, I guess inline lunge they call it, split squat assessment was a little asymmetrical. And typically I'm definitely more stable to standing on my left leg than my right. There's definitely some internal rotation deficits. So these are kind of some things I'm aware of, but it's always good to kind of learn and hear from somebody else. So one of the things I've been kind of doing some more exercises that I'm kind of more in an internally rotated position. Everything we do in powerlifting is always shoving out and externally rotating and abducting. So I'm doing some more kind of corrective exercise that put me actually in a little bit more internal rotation, a little bit more flexion. A lot of times we're always trying to arch and extend. So there's some of the corrective exercises you'll see in the video, and again, corrective exercise, but this is some stuff to help me kind of move better, and also a lot of the stuff is going to help get me a little parasympathetic. So my goal is to kind of do these exercises 1 to 2 times a day. I've been, knock on wood, been adherent and doing this twice a day. So the first exercise was a 90-90 breathing with some internal rotation there. I'm trying to kind of drop my rib cage and work on some diaphragmatic breath. Some days I'm better with it than others. It's kind of interesting, so I think that has to do with my nervous system and things like that. I noticed that if I'm a little bit more stressed, I'll kind of start to get a little bit of discomfort and kind of in my neck and my traps, and I'm starting to try to use accessory muscles to breathe into my actual breathing, my deep kind of core muscles. And again, this is not my area of expertise, so I'm just kind of trying to explain this in as much lay terms as possible and not get too technical, just from my personal understanding of this kind of stuff. I did notice that, like with a lot of doing the 90-90 breathing, it's very helpful if you have some lower back pain or just lower back issues in general. So it's definitely worth giving it a try. But you want to start with kind of your legs supported, and if you can progress to just nasal breathing only, I think that can also help get you in a more relaxed, kind of sympathetic state. And then from there, just doing some kind of, I guess it's like an eccentric kind of curl up type thing where I'm trying to work on spinal. Uncurling my spine 1 segment at a time. Once I kind of get to like the thoracic kind of lumbar kind of junction, kind of the middle of the back, that's when I really struggle, and I kind of do notice that I'm very locked up in my thoracic, which makes kind of sense, so I kind of tend to plop. So that's why I'm using the band to kind of help assist me on the way down. That is a pretty challenging kind of exercise from a core standpoint as well, especially if you're doing it with a really slow eccentric. So I'm doing that reverse kind of eccentric curl up motion with assisted for right now. And it could be out of order with some of the stuff. Doing what I would call like kind of a dead bug or like a supine squat, hip flexor hold. Some people might call this a little bit different, but that's also very challenging for me. Basically, your psoas is one of your hip flexors, and it activates when your hip flexion is above 90 degrees, so basically in like a legally depth squat. So you're going to kind of put yourself on your side. So I'm kind of helping build up that strength there to kind of work on my differences side to side and my kind of hip flexor strength. Especially in like a squat suit, like you're gonna kind of almost pull yourself down with your hip flexors. So, but getting my hip flexors a little stronger, my core a little bit more stable, I could actually see this being a real benefit to my suited squat especially. So I'm looking forward to see how those, so to me that's kind of like a dead bug type exercise. That's probably the most challenging for me right now. I need to keep working on that. Then from there, we're doing a leg lowering variation. So I've done a lot of these with a band assisted, so Ashley recommended I try to do this supported against a wall. My biggest issue actually is keeping my knee really extended. And this is an issue that I've had with deadlift lockout and things like that. So I think, improving that kind of hinge pattern, again, it's like a supine, kind of deadlift kind of pattern. So that leg lowering, so it's like a supine is like kind of the dead bug. The dead bug is kind of like a supine squat position. And this is more like a supine straight like deadlift type position. So it's hip flexion with the knee extended, whereas the dead bug exercise is more hip flexion with the knees slightly flexed. So that's kind of the difference in the patterns there. At least that's how I understand it. I always try to relate it back to like the competition movements and how it's going to relate to that. So that's, to me, that makes sense, and that's one of the things we kind of try to go over in a lot of our warm-ups or Powerlifting for the People seminars, which you should also be on the lookout for our next Powerlifting for the People seminars coming. It's the third week in January, but we'll have some more details about that very soon, so just be on the lookout for that. Because I will be coming out details for that very, very shortly. I think it's like January 20th or something like that. So if you want to mark your calendars, it'd be a great event. You guys can learn a lot. So that's the leg lowers with the leg supported. And then, I don't think we taped it, but I'm just doing some hip flexor stretching, just working on getting tall, and that's pretty standard, so I don't think we even taped that one. But you can kind of look at it. The main thing with the hip flexor stretch is you want to get tall. You don't want to kind of go into global extension. You want to just focus on hip extension. So think about getting tall and tight versus driving forward. That's a common mistake. I think you get more out of it that way. That being said, on a bench press, if you're prepping for a bench press versus just kind of movement correction, having some global extension could be effective for improving your arch, but when you're trying just to improve like your squat and deadlift pattern, have a more stable trunk, you always want your rib cage stacked over your pelvis. So that kind of hip flexor stretch where you're getting tall and tight and trying to extend, squeezing your back glute, and think about extending upward, stretching that way versus driving forward, I think can be helpful for a lot of people, especially if you experience any type of lower back discomfort or you have like general hip tightness or kind of immobility in your hips, especially the front side of your leg. And then lastly, just some, I'm not sure again what the technical term would be, but just like a single leg hinge type exercise. I've been kind of practicing these like supported and unsupported, but so it'd be more like a static, like a supported, like isometric kind of single leg deadlift, single leg RDL, where I'm trying to hinge, trying to get good rooting through my ankle and kind of activate my hamstrings and glutes to kind of support myself in that single leg pattern. So a lot of this stuff may not necessarily transfer to like a bigger squat or a bigger deadlift, but it's gonna help me move better and just be a more healthy, functional human in everyday life. Admittedly, I've seen Greg Cook and I've seen a lot of FMS, functional movement screen stuff. I have definitely been a little skeptical of some of the stuff, but I do feel better doing it. And a lot of the stuff makes sense. I can see how it kind of correlates to like a power lifter. If you can improve your hinge and your core stability, your squat pattern, it makes sense that you would kind of move better and just be a better overall athlete. So I'll give you some more updates as I kind of go, if I get tested again and things like that. And other things, I'm just kind of doing some general like kind of soft tissue work on my, outside of my hip and my calves and stuff as well, my lats and my traps and things like that. So those could be, we talked about being a sniper versus throwing grenades. I'm trying to have more of a sniper approach when it comes to my kind of corrective or prehab type work. So these are kind of things that are more specific to my needs and the kind of the scores I got on some of the assessments that I did. But I figured it might be worth sharing with you guys. And if you do, a lot of the stuff I will come with a disclaimer. There are some people out there that kind of sell some snake oil, especially like in the corrective exercise world. But if you can find a good practitioner in your area, so like I said, if you're in the Long Island area, I really highly recommend Dr. Alberry. There's a lot of clinicalathlete.com. Dr. Quinn Hennock is a great resource. You can check out some corrective exercise. I shouldn't even say that. It's like a stupid term. But like just like kind of more PT type people, physical therapist type people that are in your area, clinicalathlete.com. I guess it's more of the way I would kind of explain a lot of these drills is they're just kind of helping bring up movement deficiencies. And one of the things, kind of a quote here from a lot of physical therapists, is you want to fix the issue, not the tissue. A lot of times we are always taught, you want to get a massage, you want to do this stuff, you want to ice it, blah, blah. And I might give you some temporary relief, and I think those methods are fine and good when applicable, and that's recovery is a whole other talk. But if you're moving poorly and you're having some sort of compensation that's happening over and over again, or you have some type of mobility deficits or movement deficits, asymmetries, you want to fix your issues first and how you're moving. So that's why, harping on technique is so important. And not just, and technique can be not necessarily, could be beneficial for moving more load, but the same technique also can be detrimental for your joint health and things like that. So hopefully when you're picking a technique and you're working with a coach or working with us or whoever, you want to find a technique that you have longevity and moving well from a health standpoint and also a performance standpoint. So they don't always kind of match up, but you want to try to find a technique that kind of matches up with both as much as possible, and that's going to allow you the most longevity and ultimately the best performance if you're in the game longer and you're staying healthier. So as far as my training, I'll kind of just go through this very quickly. Doing what we call this underloading principles. And essentially that is going to be exercises that provide a great muscular stimulus without a lot of load. So things that are going to extend the range of motion, things that are going to extend the time under tension, and things that are going to allow your body to get a challenge with less weight. So one of the things I'm doing is a lot of high bar in my heels with a closer stance, deeper, kind of pause squats and normal beltless squats. Those are very challenging for me. I haven't really worked my legs that much since I've been in the suit. I've been squatting a lot wider, so I'm going to be squatting closer, more upright, working my legs, belt squatting, leg press, things like that to work my legs. Belt squat with a more closer stance and heels deeper. And again, maybe adjusting the tempo, maybe a longer eccentric, things like that, adding pauses. On the bench, I'm going to include some competition movement just because I need to work on my technique, because my technique was a little bit off since I've lost weight, and I need to kind of figure out how to position my feet better. I'm going to be experimenting with tucking my feet as well as keeping my feet flat. I will also be doing some feet up work, close grip work as well. Some spoto pressing, again, to increase the time under tension, and close grip's going to increase the range of motion. So those are going to kind of allow for that underloading principle. For the deadlift, sumo is still a relatively newer exercise for me. I all through high school, I only trap bar deadlifted, so the deadlift is the lift I have the least experience with. And then I conventional deadlifted for a while, and I only really, to be honest, I only really figured out the sumo deadlift a couple years ago. In my opinion, after learning from some people and, working with when really my aha moment was seeing Gina Aversa lift in person when she came here a couple years ago, getting ready for the US Open, and able to kind of deconstruct her technique and why she was successful. That was, and guys and people like Andrew Ottaway as well. That really was kind of helped click. I was able to reverse engineer why they were successful in their lifts, and that really helped me. And it's allowed me to be a better coach. I'm grateful to have worked with both of those athletes in the past. And always wish them the best of luck in the future. They're both great people. So that allowed me to, so I will be continuing doing some sumo deadlift work just to kind of refine my technique, because I still need to be more consistent with that. The sumo deadlift has been feeling much, much better as I've gotten lighter. I've been able to, again, position a lot easier. My hips are getting stronger. I'm able to achieve my starting position a lot better. A lot of people make the mistake of kind of doing a wide stance conventional, and they're not really doing the sumo properly, so I don't want to get in that habit. At the same time, I will be doing some stiff leg deadlifts and some deficit deadlifts and some beltless conventional and beltless pauses. Eccentric deadlifts are terrible. I know some people like Brandon Sen at Kabuki, he really likes doing those. So I'm trying to give those a try, especially he's worked with a lot of great deadlifters, and they have a lot of great deadlifters that are just actually at Kabuki themselves. So I haven't really done a lot of just eccentric work for the deadlift. So I'm going to experiment with that a little bit and see how that goes. Because I definitely need to build up my back strength. Has taken a little bit of a hit since I've lost weight. So I need to kind of improve that for sure. So things like bent over rows and things like that. And I'll continue to do my bodybuilding accessory work, but that was just a little bit of a quick recap of what's going on. The training will not be too exciting for the next couple of weeks. I will probably do a little suit testing at the end of December. And I got a couple of new toys I want to play with, some new shirts and things like that. So I'm excited to see what works and what doesn't. And then I'll kind of get into the bulk. The majority of my meet training will be February and March, but I'll also start to kind of hit the gas a little bit come January. So that's it in a nutshell. I guess it was a really big nutshell. I've been talking a lot today for whatever reason. Maybe it's the keto diet, I don't know. I'm just so mentally clear. That's it, that must be it. So 233, I'm looking to get under 230 consistently. That's my Christmas miracle that I'm hoping for. Just be under 230 pounds consistently. Maybe even an ab showing, who knows. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you following along my journey. The road to 198 is going to be a very tough one, but I appreciate you stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Check out the links below. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.